Hello, it's Julius from Basic Financials. This video is about making tax digital. So this really applies to businesses, and not only businesses, but businesses who are registered for VAT to start with anyway. Now, making tax digital is something that HMRC are bringing out over a period of time. It's not only relating to VAT, that's just what they're starting with. What I think eventually they want to do is to have all self-assessment tax returns, corporation tax, VAT, and basically everything being submitted to them digitally, and everyone keeping their records in some sort of digital format, which sounds very impressive, but we'll see. Now, what they're starting with from the 1st of April 2019, so very soon, they're starting with VAT, so businesses who are submitting VAT returns. Now, importantly, it doesn't apply at the moment to businesses who are voluntarily registered for VAT. So in other words, you might be registered for VAT, but if your turnover, your taxable turnover, is less than £85,000, which is the VAT threshold, then you don't need to get involved just yet. So you can ignore it. You'll still be able to submit VAT returns using your existing method through either doing it through your portal or through, if you've got software, you'll be able to carry on doing that. But importantly, if you currently type your figures into a VAT return on the HMRC portal, you'll still be able to do that after the 1st of April. So if people might be registered for VAT if their turnovers are under 85,000, just because it means that they can claim back VAT on expenses that they might incur, and it doesn't matter if they're selling to people who are registered, because their prices, although they might include VAT, it doesn't increase their price because their customers can reclaim the VAT. So sometimes you might be registered when you've got a turnover under 85,000. If that's you, don't worry about making tax digital VAT just at the moment. But there's a chance that it might come in from April 2020, so keep looking out for it. Now, it first applies, so it's assuming that it does apply to you, so you're a VAT registered business and your taxable turnover is over £85,000. So it does apply to you. It applies for your first VAT return beginning on or after the 1st of April 2019. So if you've got a VAT, if you're doing monthly VAT returns, your first one might be the month of April, which is due to be submitted by the 7th of June. Most commonly, if you've got a quarterly VAT return, the first one will be for the quarter ended 30th of June 2019, which is due to be submitted by the 7th of August 2019. So it sounds like it's still some way off. Only thing is, obviously, that will, if it applies from the 1st of April and your first VAT return is to the quarter ended 30th of June, you do want your whatever records you're doing to be in the same format from the 1st of April. So you need to get on with it, really. Now, so that's when it applies from. There are some businesses that are deferred until October, and probably the most common one for small businesses might be ones that are doing annual accounting for VAT, and they would be deferred as well. But let's assume that you're in it from the 1st of April. Now, the big talk is that, everybody's got to use accounting software that's on the cloud, commercially available. That's not entirely true. Excel spreadsheets, they are digital records, so they can still be used. If you keep your records just in a manual form, so you've got a cash book, then you are going to need to change, unfortunately. But if you could reproduce that cash book onto a spreadsheet, which that would then be digital. So spreadsheets are going to be fine. Excel spreadsheets, other types of spreadsheets, they will be fine. The only thing you're going to need is some bridging software, which will enable a link. So you'll have your spreadsheet. You'll then have this bridging software, which is a bit like a spreadsheet itself, where you will link figures from your Excel spreadsheet into that bridging software. And that bridging software has things in it which will enable it to communicate with HMRC in the way that HMRC require. So it has to be Making Tax Digital compliant bridging software, which HMRC have basically said, yep, this is fine. And HMRC have a list of all the software which is compliant. Now, I know of one that is free at the moment. I think it's called Vitality. Yeah, I think it's that, but it begins with a V, and it's either Vital or Vitality. But have a look at the HMRC list. There's another one which has a very good video on showing how it works. I think it's called Absolute. They do show a nice video. I think that one costs £40. There's a bit more to it than that. You get a number of licenses with that. So that's the sort of thing you're looking at, is £40 a year for this bridging software. As I say, there are free ones, but you wonder how long it's going to be free and what's the catch, don't you, with free things. But nevertheless, I can't advise on that really, but only to say that there is a big list of software. Now, you don't have to go and buy commercial software like Sage, QuickBooks, Xero, that sort of thing. You don't have to do that. That's not to say it's not a good idea. Maybe it is a good idea. And cloud-based accounts, you don't then have to keep the software on your computer. You'll know it's always up to date. So I'm not saying don't go ahead and do it. Get commercial accounting software, because it can be quite good. It can be quite expensive as well. And if you've got a spreadsheet that's working very well for you and you haven't got a complicated business, then it seems a bit of a shame to have to change just for this process of making tax digital. So hopefully that's it has sort of dispelled some myths about making tax digital. There is a lot of information on HMRC's website, and now you can get bogged down in that information, but it is well worth having a look at, and some of the videos they've got. One thing, if you are going to be involved in this, then when you've submitted your final VAT return on the old system through the HMRC portal, that'll be your VAT return probably for the 31st of March, or the 30th of April, or 31st of May if you're doing quarterly VAT returns. Once you've submitted that VAT return, then you need to register for Making Tax Digital. Now that involves, unfortunately, setting up a new government gateway account. You might already have one, because it was, i.e. the portal where you submit your VAT returns at the moment, but you do need to set up a new one. Now, if you have an accountant, they might do it for you, but you do need to talk to them to find out who's going to do it. You can do it yourself as well, and it might be better if you do it yourself. So you'll have a new, once you register for Making Tax Digital, that will then tell HMRC that you're not going to be submitting tax returns through the old portal, and it will stop you from doing it then. If you don't register for Making Tax Digital, you will still be able to submit through your portal, but it's down to you to know whether you're supposed to be doing that or not. So don't just think, oh, okay, it's still going to be open to me, I'll just do the old system, because if you're supposed to be registered, then you should do it. Once you've set up that VAT, that new VAT government gateway account, then you'll be able to start submitting through either your bridging software, or if you've got software that's already compliant, such as the Sage. I think Sage version 24 is compliant, but you need to check with your software provider if you're already using software. Just make sure that you're all set up and ready, because there are a number of things not just having the right software, but you need to make sure that all the boxes are ticked to say yes, start using it. So you need to make sure your software is not just upgraded to the version that's compliant, but also that you've enabled it to start using it. In other words, you're saying, right, I'm in. So two things really, or three, a number of things. You can use Excel spreadsheets, but you will need bridging software. If you currently use accounting software, commercial accounting software, then talk to them, make sure that it's compliant, and make sure that you've done everything, or find out what you need to do to enable it once you're ready to start using it. And once you've submitted your final VAT return on the old system, then register for Making Tax Digital on the HMRC website to get a new gateway account. I think that's probably it. Well, there's loads more, isn't there? Try not to worry too much about it. I'm sure there's going to be quite a problem. It's also timed at the same time as coming out of the EU and all the effects that might have, but we'll see what happens. Like and subscribe as usual. If you've got any comments or any questions, which there may well be quite a few, then put them in the box below, and I'll see you again soon.